Tracy, I'm just going to start the live streaming. I just went ahead and recorded.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. Kenny.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Lewis, looks like the mayor's an attendee. Oh, never mind.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mayor.
Rita, are you on?
No, Mayor.
I am.
Okay. I have a little bit after 6 o'clock, so I'd like to get the meeting started. The stated session of Easton City Council will come to order. Please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, or remain seated. You don't have to stand. Tonight, we pray for those whose health is compromised by the coronavirus or other related health issues, for those who suffer from economic impact of this virus, for the healthcare workers and first responders and other public servants who put themselves in harm's way for us as we begin to open up our schools and teachers have become, and janitors and cafeteria workers become frontline workers. For those who were impacted by our flooding 2 weeks ago, we watch over them. Please watch over them as well. For our administration to make the recommendation this evening for a revised 2020 city budget because of the pandemic impact. And for three special people, 2 city employees involved in a head-on collision last night, yesterday afternoon, which was not their fault. Charbel Corey and Stephen Narowski, we ask you to watch over them and make sure they're healthy. And also for the repose of soul of a dear friend of ours, former police chief's daughter-in-law, very active family in the community, a elementary school teacher in Phillipsburg, New Jersey, the passing of Susan Fairchild. May you watch over us and keep us healthy and make good decisions and give us the wisdom to always be mindful of the needs of our residents. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United
United States of America.
America.
And to the republic for which it
One nation.
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice
justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Ettinger,
Here.
Mr. Milan,
Here.
Mr. O'Connell, Mr.
Here.
O'Connell, Dr. Ruggles,
Here,
Mrs. Volcano,
Here.
Mayor Panto.
Here.
what?
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, Madam Clerk.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second,
Moved, seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Mayor Panto,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we'll just continue on.
I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second,
Moved in second. Any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Mayor Panto,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move on to the public comment. If there's any of the residents who are online, there's 7 attendees that would like to address City Council on agenda items only. There will be an opportunity at the end of the meeting to discuss other issues that are not on the agenda. Please raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom. And I believe Tracy Werner's on that can let you in.
Mayor, they need to state their name and address, please.
That's correct, before they speak.
Thank you.
I don't see any raised hands at this time, Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on.
wait.
to- oh, go ahead.
Somebody just raised their hand a moment ago.
I see Mallory. All right. We'll let her speak, please. Please give your name and your address.
My name is Mallory Ann Latella. My address is 825 Knox Avenue, Easton, Pennsylvania, 18042.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mallory, thank you. You may,
Thank you.
which agenda item would you like to talk about?
Black and blue.
That's not on the agenda, but since you're already on, we'll take it for you now. Normally that would be at the end of the meeting. Black and blue is not on the agenda, but we don't want to have you wait around. Go ahead.
I am absolutely willing to wait.
Oh, okay.
Yes, as long as I get the chance to speak, I'm willing to wait.
You absolutely will get the chance to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else raising their hand? Tracy, I don't see anyone. So
No,
we'll
no,
move-
this time.
We'll move on to the consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
We have several resolutions that are approving certificates of appreciation. First one is for 12 North 3rd Street, 20 North 3rd Street, 5 Center Square, 133 Northampton Street, 75 North 4th Street, 26-28 South 5th Street, 340 Spring Garden Street, and 33 North 4th Street. We also have a resolution which would authorize the city to have an auction selling various items through municipbid.com. And we have a resolution appointing Antonio Griffo to the board of the Humor Park Charitable Trust.
I move the consent agenda.
Moved by Dr. Ruggles,
second,
seconded by Mrs. Volcano. Any additions, deletions, or any questions? Roll call, please, Miss Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
aye,
Mayor Panto?
Aye. There are no reports to be received by City Council tonight, so we'll move on to reports to the committees. Finance Committee, Councilmember Vice Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I have several items on the agenda for this evening. I have Bill 15, amending the Recreation Fund budget. Bill 16, which will be amending the 2019 wastewater and operating fund budget. 17, amending the 2019 general fund budget. Bill number 18, amending section 535 of the taxation code, and Bill 20, amending various accounts of the 2020 budget. And I just want to report also that council did meet last night and got an update on the financial picture for the city. Also giving us a timeline in which we were going out to the market, and we'll be voting on that this evening. That's my report, Mayor.
Any comments or questions for Councilmember Brown? Mr. Lisinecki, do you have anything to add to that, or Mr. Campos?
Yes, Mayor, just quickly, we did have some discussion last night, so I just want to bring some clarity to transfers specifically. We met with the solicitors this morning, and we discussed the ability to transfer by the administration. So I just want to make some clarifications on when you need council's approval, or when the administration doesn't need council's approval, but then has to report to council on those transfers. So in short, intra-departmental transfers that's within the department are permissible with only written notification to council on a timely basis. Now, inter-departmental or inter-fund transfers that's across departments or across funds requires council's pre-authorization. So the example that we used was regarding terminal pay. In the case of terminal pay overages, transfers within the department. So in this case, we looked at an employee who had retired, and there was terminal pay given. The budgeted amount was $1,000. The terminal pay was more than $1,000. So the budget, the expense exceeded the budget, but the transfer was then made from the salary line item within that budget. That's permissible because it's within the department, but then has to be reported on a timely basis to council. And in that scenario, that doesn't circumvent the charter. But again, as long as the transfer is reported to council, it was a good exercise in a reminder of why we do certain practices here in the city. Now, what we dug a little bit deeper in speaking with the mayor, the administrative code, though, on the other hand, requires a resolution anytime you make a transfer. So inter or intra, but the charter trumps the administrative code. So certainly, like we talked about last night, I think there could be some clarity. So for example, defining what timely means. And then we could look a little bit deeper, for example, understanding what departments' makeups are in the organizational charts, because it's within the admin code and within the budget, they're not necessarily aligned, and certainly not the charter. So I want to bring that up to everyone's attention. I believe Mark will address a couple of these other items in a little bit more detail.
Okay, Mr. Lucinecki.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Lewis?
Speak up a little bit. We're having a hard time.
Sorry. Okay. As was mentioned, we discussed yesterday the transfers between accounts and the like. And so per our discussion, I sent council earlier today, just a little while ago, a summary of, or not even a summary, a listing of the year-to-date transfers that have been made by the administration. So these are intra-departmental transfers that we had reported on. I believe I provided a report to council of year-to-date transfers on the 21st of July. So this would now be an update as to the year-to-date. So we're 12 in total. To date, we have not requested or made any inter-departmental or inter-fund transfer requests. So anything that would require council's approval. Going forward, I would like to recommend or suggest that we maybe adjust our process as far as reporting. We have gone to now a twice a month financial update. At the first committee meeting of each month, we provide preliminary figures. I'd like to continue providing those. And then at the second meeting of the month, I'd like to provide final numbers, which will include any adjustments, any budget transfers that would be necessary to basically keep us in line. So or per the example that was given before with a terminal leave payout, where we saw expenses exceeding the budgeted amount, we will make the necessary adjustments for the second meeting of each month so that those are accounted for. And at that time, we'll also provide the transfer list, or the list of transfers that were made to basically accommodate those budget shortfalls in particular line items.
Hey, Mr. Lucinecki, may I request that when the auditors come in to give us our 2019 audit findings, that they also relay and explain to City Council the terminal leave line items, which was the biggest one in question, and if there's any suggestion on other ways of doing that. Currently, we just take what we think needs to be budgeted, divide it by the number of employees, and if there's 3 employees in that department, we multiply that average number by 3. And obviously, if we have only 3 employees and one of them retires and gets a terminal leave check, we're going to be overexpended. But if you could have them talk to Keith about making that presentation as well. And they've never, in all the management letters I've read, they've never recommended doing it any differently. But maybe he has a way of doing it, and that would solve that big negative 1,000% or something.
Sure, I will gladly do that. And on that topic, I did also send council a kind of a snapshot of our terminal leave budget across all the different groups and all the different funds, showing that yes, on a year-to-date basis, we are actually under budget overall for that particular line item. It would necessitate, moving monies between potentially departments or within departments. But I just wanted to, again, just show that, yes, in fact, that we are under budget overall versus what we had initially planned for this year.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Lisinecki, Mr. Campos, or Councilmember Brown? Moving on, Economic Development Committee, Councilmember Volcano.
I have no report this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Planning and Code Committee, Councilmember O'Connell. You were muted, but I think I read your lips that said no report.
I have no report, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connell. Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Ruggles.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to report that our subcommittee on historical markers did meet. We spoke about the various aspects of creating a board to evaluate. I believe all council members got minutes of that meeting. And we're moving ahead to try to get some idea of how we might organize this in a fashion that really solicits community input. So I think that this is something that will be well received, and I think that it is something that will be very beneficial for the community. So that's all I have.
I certainly agree. And I was talking to somebody the other day about Terry Gibson, who was a friend of mine growing up, a little older than me, lost his life in Vietnam. And there's a Terry Street on South Side in the new Nesson Heights development that was named after him. But very few people know why it's named Terry Street. Jones Houston Boulevard, where the Boys and Girls Club is. I know Al Jones. Everybody on this panel knows Al Jones and Bill Houston. But and if you were a student in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, you knew those two gentlemen as teachers, coaches, and principals. But in 10 or 15 years, no one's going to know them. So I think this is a great opportunity to showcase people who've been here. And the bridge going over 3rd Street is named the Dr. George Smith Bridge, leading to South Side. But very few people remember that Dr. George Smith was not only a mayor, but he also served on city council during the 80s. So I think it's a great idea. Look forward to any kind of help the administration can give you. Let us know.
Mayor, it also depicts a couple things too. We have a lot of history outside of the historical district, and that gives us an opportunity to have, when people come in, to look at some other sites outside of that community too. So it spreads our historical history map.
That's very true.
I will certainly give you permission to put one on my property.
All right.
That is for Pat Volcano Way, if that is so desired.
Yes. You're on the committee, Madam Volcano, Mrs. Volcano, so I'm sure that'll come up. Public Works Committee, Councilmember Ettinger.
I have no report tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Administration Committee, Councilmember Milan.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report. However, I will be calling for a committee meeting on the 8th of September to discuss dissolution of the Human Relations Commission.
Okay, sounds good. Report of the city solicitor, Mr. Scheer.
Thank you, Mayor. I have to report that because of COVID, the production of Law and Order Easton Solicitor's Office has once again been delayed. But we are negotiating with Jerry Seinfeld to take the lead role. And otherwise, I have no report.
Okay, Mr. Scheer. We'll move on. Report of the mayor. I'd like to report that on the agenda tonight, I'll speak to it when it's time, about the downtown parking permit program. I will let City Council know that we were able to secure, as you knew in executive sessions of almost a year ago now, we wanted to secure 1218 and 1220 Ferry Street, 2 blighted buildings contiguous to Centennial Park. We have secured and purchased 1220 Ferry Street through our redevelopment authority, and we are in the process of securing 1218. The county canceled the sheriff's sale because they still can't locate the owner. We expect to go to judicial sale early in 2021. at which time the city will probably be the only bidder on it. We will try to get ownership of that property. That'll give us an area to extend Centennial Park or actually build a community center with a larger gymnasium and some meeting rooms that we've already talked to Easton Area Community Center about using that as a second location along with our recreation department. So we'll keep you posted on that. Another blighted building in the West Ward, 28 South Locust Street, has been condemned, has been in imminent danger of collapse. The second floor has already collapsed in the rear. We will be taking that building down. Assistant Solicitor Clark has already reviewed the party wall that exists there. We'll do what we need to do to repair it, and then deed that over so that the city will have another lot, and the Redevelopment Authority will look to that to build one of our continue to build one of our affordable housing projects there. So we're anxious to get that project started. Remind you that. Go ahead.
Mayor, I'm sorry. Just a quick question for you. What happens if we can't find the owner? Does that go back to court and become abandonment?
Yeah, eventually we'll take it by eminent domain.
Okay.
We don't like to use eminent domain unless we really have to, but in this case, we may have to, because obviously we're going to have a lien on that property of almost $30,000. Interestingly, they've been paying the taxes on. We just can't. He's not receiving any of our violations. Our census update, we're up just shy of 60%. We want to make sure people know that we need an accurate account of our population. So we hope everybody, when they knock on the doors for the census enumerators, that they give them all the information they need. Street sweeping, I just remind the public that starts on September 1st. We've been given warnings over the last 2 weeks for people who are parked in that area of the streets and into the city. The Route 611 hazmat, we've been successfully able to pawn that off on EPA. We're very excited and happy that EPA has done that cleanup. It has meant the closure of Route 611 South from the 3rd Street Bridge to Nesquehoning Street during the week. But the good news is it should be done. EPA should be done with their cleanup by this Friday, and then the road will be open completely 24/7. The sinkhole at James Street and Kleinheim Street, I've been keeping an eye on it. The Suburban Water Authority has done a great job. They've done a radar evaluation of the below surface to see where the voids are. They're over there working and should be completed within the next few days of using flowable fill on the voids and then repairing the street. And hopefully we don't have any more trouble over there. The area should be more secured now than it was before. We're still tweaking the new parking system. In the garages is the most difficult places because obviously people are not used to paying for parking as they park. They're used to paying when they come back and leave the garage. The new garage is the new system. You pay just like it was a meter. You pay the kiosk if you want an hour, 2 hours, or 24 hours. You pay the kiosk and then you leave. You punch in your license plate number. So when the license plate recognition vehicle goes around, they know that you're okay, or you may be a monthly. So I haven't had any complaints about it. So I think the public has accepted the technology. Just to let you know, the Circle project update, PennDOT through their engineers, Pannoni Engineering, has whittled the traffic pattern down to 2 or 3 that will be presenting. Mr. Hopkins will be available sometime in September or October. We go back to public meetings. Hopefully by then, we will have a meeting with all the diagrams and get people's input and your input on the traffic pattern. This has nothing to do with the Circle Park in itself. That we still have to work out with the county and the city. We'll come up with a plan for that. But we are obviously looking at that project with an eye towards the outdoor dining that we've been doing, which is becoming more and more popular. Also, I would like to say that the Jersey Walls have the new marketing concept on them that tells people to step up the plate, eat downtown, shop and stop downtown. And also we have a third banner, which is, I think is something the city has been remarkably good about, is the diversity of our population. We celebrate that with one of our banners. 33% of them have to do with our heritage of diversity of our population. Easton's very fortunate. We're a small city. we all grew up together. We go to the same churches, the same supermarkets, the same schools, and we've really not had the racial ethnic divide that many of the larger cities have had in the past. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of our residents. We've had 4 social unrest protests that are really recognized as being peaceful. We had no violence at all. Our police officers reacted well to some of the criticism that was given to them face to face. Our police officers right now are participating in the courageous conversation talks that are being done by the NAACP of Easton branch and Bethlehem branch. Yesterday was at the Steel Stacks in Bethlehem, and one of the participants who was on the panel called me to let me know that he felt our officers were really shining stars there, that they are really doing things well. And today I got an email from an individual, actually it was on Facebook, I'm sorry, who owns a business in the West Ward, had an encounter with the police department. They acted very, very professionally. He was very excited. They didn't just come out and ticketed the person who was parked in their driveway. They found out who the owner was and asked the owner to move the car. So, you know, I think our police are doing more and more of that type of activity. We expect it, we want it, but it's also nice to hear from the public that it's actually being done. The last thing I will mention is that one of the things we're doing we know that all of our special events for the most part have been canceled. We're still waiting for a decision on Bacon Fest, which isn't held till November, but September 26th, we will have a concert in downtown in Center Square called Broadway Comes Home. It'll feature Broadway star Dee Roscioli and a number of her musicians and singer-songwriters. They will be doing Broadway shows, contemporary songs, and old standards. The concert is meant to be heard. City Entertainment's doing the sound. All the restaurants are at least in the Circle and Northampton Street area. I'm not sure they will hear it as far down as Ocean or Seta Luna, but they'll certainly hear it to 3rd and Ferry and Mesa and River Grill and Pearly Bakers and Stoke and River Grill and Oak and Amon's and in the public market. So we're excited about that. Dee Roscioli had the record-breaking 3.5-year lead as the lead in Wicked. She also traveled around the world with Wicked and appeared in Chicago and New York and Los Angeles. She also most recently starred as Cher in the Broadway show Cher. Obviously, the last 5 months, Broadway has been dark. It's been shut down for at least till the end of the year, and there's no shows in production. So just like the movie theaters, we don't know when they'll be back. But we're excited about that. Tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, the mayors of Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton will be participating in an AARP podcast of how our city's dealing with the elderly during this pandemic. And the only other thing I want to mention is that the city has made a decision. We will be taking over the project of Nevin Park Fountain, trying to bring that to close because it's just been sitting there. I know Mr. O'Connell and Dr. Ruggles have probably been getting questions about that. But the College Hill Neighborhood Association, which we've been partnered up with, really is cash strapped and not being able to finish it. And we want to bring that to fruition. So we're going to work on that Nevin Park Fountain, which we've been doing, but we're going to bring it to a close. Again, the money that's used for all these things, like if you haven't been over to the community gardens and greenhouse on South Side at the Boys and Girls Club, it's really interesting. If you want to sponsor one of the community garden boxes, it's $500. I know my wife and I are going to sponsor one of them, and Dean's looking for 12 of them to be sponsored. All that money is coming from our open space recreation fund, which is paid for by the developers. You want to develop in the city of Easton, there's a recreation open space fee that we charge, and then that money is used for the recreation of our youth and adults and programs like beautifying our parks. So we're excited about that. The last thing I just want to let Mr. Scheer know, I forgot to mention today in our 2.5-hour solicitors meeting, Mr. Scheer, was quite lengthy.
That's overtime, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah, probably. Joel gets overtime. We'll get double zeros.
No, it's just my hourly rate goes down proportionally.
Joel, last night, the zoning hearing board denied a zoning hearing variance request for a home up on Clinton Terrace owned by a private developer that wanted to put 5 unrelated individuals in that house. The zoning board said no. It's obviously close to the college. Our ordinance says no more than 3 unrelated. He's made threats already that he's going to appeal it. So I just want to make sure you and Bob Nitschke stay on top of that so that we're prepared to represent the city in that appeal.
Yes, Mayor, just let me know because we would have to file for intervention on behalf of the city administration. But I'm assuming the city zoning officer had recommended or denied the request in the first place, and that gives us standing.
Right, they denied it and it went to zoning hearing, zoning board denied it. There were several residents on the meeting and last Monday and obviously talked about their displeasure. It would drastically change the complexion of the city if all of a sudden the apartments were allowed to have 5 unrelated instead of 3. 3's a large enough number depending on the number of bedrooms. So that's the end of my report. I thank City Council for listening. We're going to move. Is there any questions? Okay, we're going to move right on to, there's no correspondence. There's no unfinished business. New business, Madam Clerk.
And we have an ordinance being introduced by Mayor Panto, which would amend various sections in Chapter 399 parking permits.
Okay, so introduced. I would like to just mention that, I'll get to you, Dr. Ruggles. I see your hand is up. I proposed this program back in 1986, I think it was, when we were trying to get people to move downtown. Parking was an obstacle at the time. Why people said they didn't want to move downtown. The tide has shifted. We have more and more people moving downtown, which is great for our downtown economy. However, it's created a problem, especially now that we've gotten rid of we've sold the Boyd Theater lot. There weren't a lot of people who parked in there monthly, but they did use it. And we had thought the planning would be that our 4th Street garage would be done soon after the Boyd Theater lot was sold for $1.1 million, but unfortunately it's still in the planning process. So that's been held up. But so people who live downtown, there were certain streets that they weren't allowed to park on. For example, the North 3rd Street lot north of Spring Garden is a residential block. People who have a residential parking permit aren't even allowed to park on that block. The 200 and 300 block of Spring Garden Street. So I've asked City Council to amend that section to allow the people to park on streets like North 3rd and Spring Garden, and also that people, and I hope the press gets this right because it was a little confusing on the Restaurant project that we're going to finalize tonight. The program will cease and desist for any new permittee, but it will not cease and desist if you currently have a downtown parking permit. You will be grandfathered and you will continue to be able to have that. As we try to get more and more people off the street parking into our garages, I think that's really important. As more and more of our landlords downtown are getting a little bit more progressive in offering monthly parking passes with the rent, they just include it in the rent, like Mr. Mulligan does at the Governor Wolf Building and at the, well, not the Governor Wolf Building, they have parking. The Pomeroy Building and the Pomeroy Lofts, they get that, and their businesses get parking permits in our Pine Street garage. So I think the value was there back in the 80s and 90s, but fortunately, we don't need to entice people to move to downtown. They're already doing it. So that's will be voted on in 2 weeks. Any questions? Dr. Ruggles had one or two.
I just want to throw this out to council, and I don't know how they feel about it, but I was driving through the 4th Street parking lot the other day, and you can see the blue stickers for the residential parking. And what kind of surprised me was there were several of those that were on cars that did not have Pennsylvania license plates on them. And I read through the ordinance. We do not require that they have a Pennsylvania license plate, but we do require they are residents. And I think that there's a regulation that states that you only have a certain amount of time once once you become a resident of Easton, you only have a certain amount of time before you are required to get Pennsylvania registration. I don't know if that's true or not. I was told that once by a magistrate, but right after I moved here. I don't know. I just want to throw it out to council. It just seems to me like if we're going to have a resident parking program, it ought to be for residents. It shouldn't be for people that have license plates from out of state.
I agree, Dr. Robles, but the COVID may have stopped some people from being able to change their licenses, but probably not in many instances. I would think probably not.
Well, I think COVID is certainly one of the reasons why that they excuse that they can use. However, we were not enforcing parking at all during that period that the state was closed. I think, you know, we require certain things up on the residential parking permit program on College Hill. And one of them is that they have to prove that they have a local driver's license, plus a lease, plus some utility bill that shows that they're residents of that area of the College Hill. So I think that would be a great, since it's you and I guess it would be Mr. Ettinger's, your committees, and I would certainly entertain an amendment to the ordinance that makes that requirement. So that, because very few people are actually, when they come here, we found that they're not changing their license plates. They're not getting their car inspected, and they're not doing the things that keeps other people safe on the roads. So I would gladly entertain that. Maybe we could bring it up at the next Public Safety Committee meeting.
Just one more thing.
Sure.
In reading that ordinance too, I noticed we are eliminating the parking districts. Is that the correct terminology?
Yes, blue and red.
Right. And
blue, red, and gold. It means that if you're a blue permit holder, you could park anywhere as well.
Right. Well, some of the other portions of the ordinance continue to refer to districts.
That's your good point.
And so I think we need to maybe go through and weed those out of there. It's just an elimination of that, which I don't think is a big change. It's because they don't exist anymore with the approval of the ordinance. But there are sections that do continue to mention districts.
All right, I will do that and I'll send it out. Thank you for the catch. Anyone else on the downtown residential parking permit program? Right.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Ruggles.
While you're doing that, Sal, again, kind of a pet peeve of mine, but there are several locations in there where it says something like, and he will do this or he will do that. I think that we may want to filter those out also.
I don't know why I didn't catch that one. I should have, because I've been catching in all the other ones when we were reviewing the ordinances. So yes, I will do that. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Moving on, Madam Clerk.
We have bill number 15 that's being introduced by Mr. Brown, and that would be amending the 2019 Recreation Fund budget.
Madam Clerk, if it permit, can I go and do 15 through 18 together?
I don't know. It's just moving it. It's just saying, you know,
right,
move.
Right, I'm introducing it. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know that if we can separate it or not. I don't know if we have to keep them separate. Joel?
You're muted, Joel.
You're just going to say
sorry about that. Since the only thing you're doing is introducing it, I think you could just say you're introducing
the bill numbers.
Go down the numbers.
Yeah.
So you're going to move bill 15, correct, Kenny?
I'm moving bill 15 through 18.
But do I need to say what they are, Joel, specifically?
Do you usually do that?
Yes.
If you customarily say what they are, then yes.
Okay. So I have bill number 16 also being introduced by Mr. Brown. Bill number 17 being introduced by Mr. Brown. One is for 2019 wastewater operating fund, and one is amending the 2019 general fund. Then I have bill number 18 that's Mr. Brown is introducing, where he will be amending a section in chapter 535 taxation.
So introduced.
Thank you. I have bill number 19 being introduced by Mr. Milan, which would be amending Article 3 of the traffic control map, and that would be creation of a 15-minute pickup zone and a creation of 15-minute pickup drop-off zone.
So introduced.
Thank you. Bill number 20 being introduced by Mr. Brown, and that would be amending various accounts within the 2020 budget.
So introduced.
Okay, thank you all. We're now at a point where it's public comment, so I will introduce Mallory again. Tracy, if you'll give her the floor. Please state your name and address again, Mallory.
Yes, my name, Mallory Ann Latella. My address, 825 Knox Avenue, Easton, Pennsylvania, 18042.
Okay.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your time. And I'd like to bring the conversation back to the subject of diversity, which was discussed before. Diversity is one of the many reasons why Black and Blue is an important part of the community. It's a place where people of all ages, all genders, and all ethnicities can feel safe and experience joy together. This is especially true during a pandemic. While many people are struggling, many businesses were forced to close. Many musicians had every gig canceled for the rest of the year. Black and Blue gives people hope. The patrons and the musicians are equally as respectful and kind. Marcel and the staff of Black and Blue are extremely professional and kind, and they care about the community and they care about the neighbors. The police have been extremely friendly, and all of us need music for our mental health. The outdoor music is temporary. It is happening due to COVID-19 restrictions. The police have been called during every single event these past few weeks. Black and Blue will continue to follow the rules for city ordinance. They are willing to cooperate and lower the volume of the music if necessary. They will continue to end the music at exactly 10 p.m. and follow the rules at each event. We ask that you please have empathy, as there are many people struggling during this time. I would also like to point out that someone in the town of Easton was putting letters in people's mailboxes. If you put letters in people's mailboxes and you are not the mailman, it is a federal offense. This person has also been repeatedly calling the police, which I personally feel is harassment to the police. They have been kind, extremely responsive. Thumbs up to the police. And that's everything I have to say. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mallory. I can address that for City Council. You did get some of the emails that were floating back and forth. On Friday afternoon, the administration did issue a first and final warning to Black and Blue, as we have in other, also the same day to Sete Luna downtown. We play no favorites when it comes to these restaurants. They are, Mallory, you are correct about the diversity and the music, and I agree with everything you say. But unfortunately, the business recovery permit that they were given to allow them to have dining in our public right of way, they signed a letter which said they were not going to have any music that left their premises. And once it did, it was a violation of that. So we did not shut them down. We took the abuse from people who said the police were too friendly. Gosh, this is the same group that tells us they want them to be friendly and want community policing. And I agree with you, but as long as they're in our right of way doing business, without our right of way, they would be closed. We do have a little bit more control over them. We cannot allow people to stand around and drink without a meal. And that meal has to be more than a snack. And that's the state law, or state regulations, not ours. We will feel compelled. I do not enforce that, and our police don't enforce that, and our code enforcement doesn't enforce that, because it's not our recommendation, it's the state's. But if there's continued violations of that, people leaving the premises with open container alcohol will be cited, and we will be forced then to call the Liquor Control Enforcement Agency, and no one wants to do that. We've had nothing but cooperation from Manuel and Marcel, and we're very happy about that. We have one downtown business, not Setaluna, but another one, who was giving us initially trouble the first 2 weekends, and they've opted out of the business recovery plan. They have no seating in our public right of way. And they're inside their building at 25%. And you know what? They may be even violating that. That's for the governor to send his people down for. We'll watch if it gets too crowded. We'll certainly do that. But we have no intent of harming Black and Blue, but we certainly don't have any intent of them harming the neighborhood as well. And we certainly know.
Mayor, where is the Black and Blue, if I can ask?
Walnut Street,
Thank
right
you.
across. It's the old Supreme Court, right there on Walnut between 6th and 7th.
Thank you.
Yep. So Mallory, I appreciate your comments. I really do. And I can assure you that the city's not trying to hassle Black and Blue. We're just trying to protect the neighborhoods that live in that area. They're not used to having outdoor music. And Black and Blue received a letter today that says the permitted business must curtail operations in the permitted area no later than 10 p.m. That's not a problem. All patrons must be seated in the permitted area. Persons shall not be served while standing, regardless of whether a table is provided or not. The business permitted shall not offer curbside delivery or to-go alcoholic beverages. That is part of the business recovery plan. And that's why that downtown business doesn't want to be involved. They're selling a lot of adult slushies. And they keep it up, they're going to get reported to LCE. We have not had a problem with them in the last 6 weekends, so they're fine right now. But the first 2 weekends, we were getting their styrofoam cups all over the city. Signs must be provided that they cannot leave the area with alcohol. Anyone with alcohol outside the area will be containers, and the business permit will be revoked. No loitering will be allowed on the permitted space. Signs to this effect must be posted. It's responsibility of the business to make sure their customers are aware of these rules. And of course, there's no amplified live or recorded music permitted outdoors. Live acoustic guitar is permitted without accompaniment, such as drums or other instruments, so long as there's no further complaints. And the last one is they must continue to follow CDC guidelines for cleanliness and sanitization. So I hope I answered all your questions, and I certainly want you to know that I personally like Black and Blue. I think they also own, the same people own Terra del Fuego and Terra Cafe. We're excited about the amount of entrepreneurship that they have, but we also, unfortunately, it is a bar restaurant in a neighborhood, just like Porter's Pub. They're out on 7th Street, and we've not had any complaints about that. Ashley's in the Westward chose not to participate. Neither did Lutzie's, because they have Lutzie's in their case, they have their own parking area and patio. But today I was getting a lot of complaints on Facebook about it's only for downtown restaurants. Well, that's not true. Here's one that's a perfect example in the West Ward. I can't help it if none of the South Side businesses wanted to participate. Las Delicias is participating on their own. They have their own parking lot that they're having dining tables outside. I go by it every night on my way home. So, and Sole Mia was closed during the entire pandemic. They just opened up last weekend. So we're trying to work with all these businesses. Our priority is not to curtail their business, it's to enhance their business. So we will work with them, Mallory, I assure you.
Thank you very much, and understood. And I think making signs is a great idea, and it will assist all the patrons with following the rules. And I think it's a great thing.
Thank you. We also have an Andrew who's on our list, Tracy, with a hand up. Andrew, if you'll give us your name and address and unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hi, Andrew, West Ward.
What's your last name and your address?
Is that required?
Yes, it is.
All right, we're gonna have to check on those procedures. 706 Pine Street.
And what is your last name, sir?
Ryan, the mayor of St. Louis got a lot of flack for revealing the addresses of people that were addressing government and asking for reform. Think about that one. I'm mostly here to address the other people listening, but the council, might benefit some. I think these people want the labor, but not the workers. They want the buildings, but they don't want to be on the block. They want the service, but they don't want the industry. They want the revenue, but they refuse to accept the volume. The right-of-way always belonged to us. Thank you.
Andrew, before you leave, I'm sorry, I didn't really understand what you were saying. Were you for or against, or what was this about? I understand your point about the addresses, and we will check that out. I've been involved in local government since the 80s, and it's always been that way, but it's a good point. We'll check it out.
So the mayor of St. Louis took a lot of flack in the press for posting the addresses of people that signed petitions demanding police reform. And Mayor Panto, you yourself recently walked down Northampton Avenue with an unregulated and unlicensed militia with guns on the 4th of July. The PA State Guard is not recognized by the state, and can you tell me your relationship with them?
My relationship with the militia?
The people that walked down,
Guard?
the people that did the wreath planting. They are not members of the United States military. They're not part of the Army Reserve, which I was active duty and reserve, and they are not the National Guard. They're not licensed, regulated, or approved by any government.
Well, that's ironic. I didn't know that because I was at.
You didn't know that the armed group that you walked down the street with was not licensed, regulated, and insured? You walked down the street with a private army.
I walked down the street with the same group that I met at the American Legion who presented a cannon in honor of the fallen veterans. And that's
what the hell good does a cannon do us? People are getting shot in the street and we want cannons?
I'm not following you, Andrew. I'm sorry.
I'm saying that a cannon is not a useful thing for the community, and neither is a armed militia.
It wasn't our community. American Legion, Lester Pepper American Legion is on 16th Street in Wilson Borough. I was invited.
Then what does that have to do with us?
And they are the ones I did walk. They are the ones who commemorated Memorial Day for all of our fallen veterans. And
in military uniforms with guns, and they themselves are not military members. Can you explain how that has any place on our street?
I will check that out, Andrew.
All right. And also, recently said that the answer to some of our issues was more police overtime, more surveillance, more budget. How does that fit into our national scene right now, where we're going to pay the overseers more money?
Andrew, I'm not following you. You want us to defund the police? I want to give them more money. Our police.
My father's a police officer. Was for 25 years, now retired. Okay. But do you think that's a bad look that when an armed man came out to intimidate the protesters at Black Lives Matter rally, he stood in front of the Columbus statue with a rifle and said he was willing to shoot anyone that tried to take it down. Easton PD shook his hand and said, have a nice day. Easton PD does a good job, and all you've done with accreditation is very positive.
I don't know of any incident where there was an armed man in front of the Columbus statue.
Are you paying attention?
Of course I'm paying attention.
The photos were on social media. You missed it.
Oh, I'm not a social media guy. I get on and off as fast as I can.
Well, the young voters are. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Youth. Anyone else on our list that would like to speak? Tracy?
There's no one else with their hand raised at this time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from City Council wish to say anything? Any comments or questions?
Actually, Mallory just raised her hand again. Is she allowed to speak a second time?
Well, our rules say no, but I don't have a problem. It's up to City Council. Anyone have an issue with Mallory speaking again?
No.
Not at all.
Okay, Mallory.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that Marcel Bedoya is trying to raise his hand to speak.
We don't even see his name. I don't see Marcel's name listed as an attendee. Is he under a different name?
I'm not sure. Marcel, are you there? I'm so sorry.
We have the list of attendees. There's 12 of them, and I don't see his name. Unless he's find out if he's under a different name.
Could he be under black and blue?
There's no black and blue on here. There's a person in support of black and blue, B&B, but I don't see anything that says it's Marcel.
Okay.
If you click on the participants tab, you can see the list of attendees and the names that we see.
Okay. Okay. I'll give someone else the chance to speak.
Okay.
I tried.
Thank you, Mallory.
Mayor, before we go, I wanted to commend you for your fortitude and not allowing this person to get underneath you. You know, we're going to have that right, wrong, or indifferent. Everybody has a right to their opinion. I thank council for not engaging also. We have a great police department. We have a great city, and we work with our community. Whoever this person is, he said what he said, we'll move forward.
I again, when I got a request for to keep the Memorial Day parade active in the city with a small number of people commemorating the fallen heroes of our country, yep, I'm going to walk down the street with them, and that's what I'm going to do. And if I hear defunding of police, I'm going to tell people right out, we have a long way to go in this country, a long way to go. We just had another incident in Wisconsin, but, and I've terminated, and city council knows we've terminated people who have violated our policies on our police department. However, we have a good police department, and my concern about defunding, the term defunding police, because they're not seeing the actors out there that I see. We're not talking about innocent people here. We're talking about people who are 17 and 18-year-old kids carrying automatic weapons around our city and showing them on social media that our police department has videos of. And Mr. Campos and I went over to get an update just on the amount of guns out on our streets. And so you're going to show up at, our police are going to show up with an AR-17 and they have a pistol. It's just, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to protect our cops, but we're going to hold them accountable, be righteous, and make sure that they do exactly what we require in our policies. We have in our policies everything that they've asked for. We've had for 15 years. It goes before me when the city police department got accredited back in 2016. So Councilmember Volcano and Brown, you guys were here. I wasn't. But under Mayor Mittman, they became accredited, and we've been reaccredited 4 times since I've been here. So I'm real happy about that. Very proud of them. But certainly don't want to discourage anyone from having their opinion. But we'll move on.
Mayor, we have another raised hand.
Okay. Until we have a motion for adjournment, let's take it. It's Michelle. You want to give her access, Tracy, to Michelle Deary?
Yes, I'm trying to allow her to talk, but I'm getting a weird message from Zoom to promote her to a panelist. Louis, should I do that? All right. I think, Michelle, you have the ability to talk now.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Your name and address, please.
My name and address. My name is Michelle Deary. I live at 119 South 7th Street, right here in Easton, right around the corner from Black and Blue.
Okay.
And I just wanted to, first and foremost, thank you guys very much for, opening this platform for all of us and whoever wanted to express anything that they would like to talk about. And Mallory, I would like to thank you personally for stepping up in all the statements that you said regarding it in Black and Blue. I am also taking a strong stance in solidarity with Marcel and Manuel in Black and Blue. I was actually one of the original crew and team that opened it up back in the day with Kelly Jo Dietz and Larry Porter.
Okay.
It is a very special and integral part of Easton's diverse community, no doubt, and in turn always does continue to celebrate and be a unique and safe place for all of our neighbors and residents, and then the Lehigh Valley and beyond as well, for service, food, showcase of the wide variety of entertainment that they're allotting people to come and hang out and do their thing. It's a sought out place. It is a very important and supported place in our innumerable amount of hearts and lives. And thank you very much for allowing me to have this platform and voice my support for Black and Blue as well. And I have to say, I find it very interesting that the unsolicited letter that Voices for Change at mail.com, as you pointed out, Mallory, as well, illegally placed in our mailboxes last week, was very disheartening and very unwarranted. And it's upsetting that someone would want to take these measures and want to try and negatively shade any place in Easton, but especially this special place for me and for many others. And with that, I'm representing it's the most positive representation in Easton that is full of nothing short of love, acceptance, and pride towards every single person that walks through that door every time.
No, you're right. You're
So
absolutely
thank you. I
correct.
just wanted to voice my support, and I would feel remiss if I was not a part of this.
We appreciate you stepping up and calling in and letting us know, because unfortunately, very often city council and the administration only hears the negative, and
I would imagine so.
and this is really nice to hear the positives, because as I said, we took a neutral attitude towards Black and Blue. We did not want to hurt them, but yet we wanted to make sure we represented, or at least represented the concerns of some of the neighbors. Obviously, you are a neighbor at 119 South 7th.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, you're right around the corner. So we thank you for calling in, Michelle, and getting involved. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'll have an entertainment for adjournment.
So move.
So move, Dr. Ruggles.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. David
Second.
O'Connell. David O'Connell seconds. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Okay, Mr. O'Connell,
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano,
Aye.
Mayor Panto,
Aye.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown,
You're muted, Ken. You're muted.
Sorry about that, Ree.
that's okay.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Ettinger
Aye.
and Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Thank you all. Stay safe. Have a good night.
Dr. Ruggles, if you could give me a
You
call in the
too, Mayor.
morning, please.
Good night.
Will do.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.